Yo, what's going on, guys, and welcome back. Today we're going to be covering the Thousand Storms. Now this is of course the artifact spear, and is what I think of the strongest artifact in the game. Now the reason I think this is the strongest artifact, the spear is the most consistent and highest damage that you can get from any weapon, with obviously the Q, right? And the only downside that the spear had before was the E, harpoon. Now there was some cases in which this was a decent ability to use, but a lot of the time you wanted to either mace E or whip E or slashes E into the spear Q to set that up because there's a bit more damage and it's a bit easier to hit in those regards. But now the E, harpoon, pulls you to the target. You get a reduced cast time when hit, and it inflicts a stun when you do throw it out and hit someone. This really sets up a free spear Q, sets up some free damage with a couple primary attacks, and really ties into this build, which I'll explain to further once we go into the spells. Now let's have a look at the spells. Firstly, for our dash, running a bit of Veil of Chaos. As our first spell, we've got Discharge. And then for our final spell, we've got Mistrance. Now let's see why we take Veil of Chaos. Veil of Chaos, especially in this current meta, is the strongest dash by far. Not only is it 2 dashes in which you can incorporate quick spear auto attacks during that, but it's the most mobility out of every dash. And especially now with the recent changes in the recent hotfix patch, there's going to be what I think may be a little bit more offensive spells thrown out. I think Spectral Wolf will see a decent chunk of play. Void was not touched at all, so I think you'll still see a lot of that. So having the 2 dashes to balance out what a lot of the enemies may be throwing at you, while also providing some quick, upfront, consistent damage with your spear primary attacks during those jumps, it's exactly what you want when running the artifact spear. Now going on to our other 2 spells, this is a very defensive loadout. We've got Discharge, which really sets up a lot of combos with this spear. If you ever discharge someone that's attacking you from long range, they will be pulled in a short distance. And then you can follow that up easily with the spear E. That stuns them, that gives you enough time to get right up close and do a fat spear Q. In similar fashion, you've got your Mistrance. Mistrance actually refunds 80% of your cooldown for the spear Q. So whenever you are able to get this off, jump right on top of your opponent, not only will they get feared for an easy spear Q, but it also grants you stacks of Phantasm, so that you can catch people off guard with the recast counters. A lot of people, when you are using a counter, they'll wait it out and then attack immediately afterwards. You can bait out their attack and get a discharge stun on them for an easy spear E or spear Q, or get a really sneaky Mistrance on the recast and just pop on their face for maybe some more stacks of Phantasm to recast again. Okay, now the armor of choice that we're going with here is the Dread set. The main reason for this is the increased weapon cooldown recovery. This is 10% across the board, right? And then your Warrior Blood, if you do take Warrior Blood, is at minimum 10%. This means that every time you use your Mistrance, if it's triggered, then your spear Q is immediately off cooldown, regardless if you had just used it or not. So this is the only set you want to be running with the artifact spear. Now because the spear is a really fast and consistent primary attack source, we're going to be running the Amulet of the Blade Master. The fact that this also spawns in lesser storm shields is massive. This actually does a fair bit of damage, especially when using our ult and Reaper into spear Q combo, and it's just extra damage that ends up being a lot more beneficial than you may first think. And of course, finally, our ult, we're using the good old Merciless Charge. This is to set up the big old fat spear combo with the Reaper. It's to set up some chain CC combos that we'll go through a little bit later, involving your discharge counter, and is a perfect option to use for this build. Now, as you can see, we're only using the spear. That's it. I think that the spear is that strong that you don't need any other weapon to go with it. Obviously, you're at a big detriment if you don't run anything else, but the fact that you can just use the spear and nothing else with this build and still be on par with other people that you're versing using 8 weapons is insane, and I think it should probably get nerfed. If we were sticking to the theme of running 4 weapons, the 4 weapons that I would be running with this would obviously be the Reaper, the Slasher to set up an easy spear queue, and then either something ranged like a pistol or a bow, longbow, crossbow, whip, anything of that nature. Maybe just even the pistols just for the iframe and a bit of ranged. But those 3 plus 1, you're chilling. Other than that, you can obviously choose up to 8 weapons to go with it, or 7 rather, with the spear being the 8th. Anything you chuck in, or if you just use the spear, it's all great, as long as you have this spear. With the weapon combos, I want to focus on just what you can do with the spear, and obviously your spells. And the best way I think to do that is going over a couple clips that I'll show in a second, in which I'm dueling someone using the spear. Whether or not I'm using other weapons is a different story, but the combo is just involving the spear and my spells, and walk through exactly how to do it. Make sure you're primary attacking between every jump, even between every cast of your counter. This can ensure uptime of your damage, and if they're feared, to always queue in the direction they're running. After landing your ult, always get at least 2 primary attacks off before you're using your spear queue. Also, if you discharge in close range like this, you can get a quick primary attack and then a speary as well right after. If you're using discharge from long range though, make sure you use your speary immediately, followed by a spear queue. And finally, we've got the Duels. So the Duels that we're running for Veil of Chaos, the important one to note here is the increased damage of next primary attack, and possibly the fading snare and elude duration. Anything else is not as important, so make sure you've got the increased damage of next primary attack. For our next spell, Discharge, this is the duel that we're running for this. The important ones here is to increase the duration of the stun effect. This allows for you to get a spear E or Q off in a more true combo sense. Also the increased damage done by storm shields. Really all 4 of these are important, so make sure you grab all 4. And finally, we've got Mistrance, and make sure you've got that first one. When triggered, reduces the cooldown of your secondary weapon skill, and also the 4 stacks of Phantasm. So just in summary, this build for the 1000 Storm, all you need is the spear. Anything else you add in is a great bonus, but the fact that this spear has CC on both Q and E, hard CC at that, which doesn't exist with anything else in the game, if at all, and utilizing these 2 defensive combos of Discharge and Mistrance to continue the CC chain and continue comboing just using the spear. You can pick this up super easy, have a lot of success on it, and it's a good starting point in getting used to some of the timings of your counters and the little attacks that you can sneak in here and there, and start to add in your own weapons. One by one if you like, if you're only used to using one. You can add in Slashes next, you can do the EQ combo, then you can add in the Reaper, try the Merciless Charge combo, and then something range, and then you just branch and build from there. But other than that, without further ado, enjoy the rest of the video. If you guys like this sort of content and like this series, feel free to give me a like and a comment. That would be sick. So yeah, enjoy.